might not have heard the name Alan Niven before, but you're definitely familiar with Guns N' Roses. He became their manager right before the release of their classic, iconic album, Appetite for Destruction. And he just filed a lawsuit against the band, and he's making some surprising claims. Let's take a look at the case and what we know about the situation. So Alan Niven is this interesting character in rock history because he was sort of brought in to deal with Guns N' Roses, who at the time were internally having difficulties. So apparently some people thought that Alan could help out in this situation, and that he did. He starts working with the band in 1987, just before the release of Appetite for Destruction, and he really played a big role in the band's rise. Now, the story goes that he actually had to convince the record label Geffen to use Sweet Child of Mine as a single, and of course once they agreed, he was proven right because the song went on to be one of the biggest rock ballads ever. And as managers often do, you had Niven managing these complex relationships inside of the band where they were constantly at odds with each other. Now, Alan was also given a lot of credit for helping the band build their global touring strategy, where they really kept this very aggressive, constantly on the road schedule that we saw from them back in that era. The band was paired with acts like The Cult, Motley Crue, and Aerosmith, and they really built their reputation as one of those must-see, over-the-top bands. But unfortunately, by 1991, tensions between Axl Rose and Alan Niven were said to have reached a breaking point, at which point Axl reportedly went to Geffen, the record label, and demanded that Niven was fired. Reportedly, the issues that they were at odds over were creative and control-related decisions, and also the direction of the Use Your Illusion albums. And in the aftermath of all of that, Alan Niven gets a lot of credit for helping to turn Guns N' Roses from a wild LA rock band to a global touring giant, and now a legendary act that we see to this day. So Niven has written a memoir called Sound and Fury, Rock and Roll Stories. It was originally supposed to be released back in July, but it got mysteriously delayed, and then delayed again. And now we know why. According to a new lawsuit filed on November 3rd, Guns N' Roses has allegedly been blocking the book's publication. The lawsuit filed in federal court in Arizona claims the band has been trying to kill the book by sending repeated threats to Niven and contacting the publisher, ECW Press, directly. ECW. So Niven is firing back. He's asking a judge to step in and give him what's called a declaratory judgment, basically a court order saying that Guns N' Roses can't actually stop him from releasing his book. Now, according to this report from Blabbermouth, the entire fight boils down to one thing: the buyout agreement between Guns N' Roses and Niven when they parted ways 34 years ago, all the way back in 1991. That agreement is said to have included a confidentiality clause. According to the lawsuit, Guns N' Roses sent a letter back in May of this year invoking that 1991 clause and essentially telling Niven not to speak on matters related to the band. But Niven's lawsuit claims that 34-year-old agreement isn't worth the paper it's printed on. His legal team's making several arguments in this lawsuit. First, they claim the original 1991 contract isn't even valid because, allegedly, not all of the members of Guns N' Roses actually signed it. Second, Niven argues that GNR members have already broken that same confidentiality agreement by publicly commenting on him multiple times over the last 3 decades. And here's a really interesting detail. Niven claims in the suit that one member of Guns N' Roses actually encouraged him to write the book in the first place, but the filing doesn't name which member, but it's an interesting twist if that's indeed true. His team also points out that Niven has been speaking about his time with Guns N' Roses in interviews for over a decade. Of course, we've talked about that here. So why is this book suddenly the one thing that they seemingly don't want to be released? The lawsuit also reopens some very old wounds from that 1991 firing, of course. Niven's complaint states that when he was forced out, he was under severe personal distress because he had been betrayed by his former employee, the band's lawyer, and his band. He claims that he was forced to take a buyout that was far less than he would have received and was supposedly forbidden forever from talking about his time with Guns N' Roses. After 34 years, it sounds like he's ready to have a fight over this. So what is it about this book, Sound and Fury, that the band doesn't want to come out? The book is said to cover Niven's entire career, including his work with the Sex Pistols, Nikki Sixx, managing Great White, But obviously the centerpiece in his career is his time with Guns N' Roses, and the book is said to include anecdotes about the 5 individuals who made up the classic lineup of the band. And it is interesting here because now you're seemingly going to have a lot more interest in this book because you have this court situation where he has filed a suit claiming that Guns N' Roses has attempted to halt this book from coming out. And now people are going to be watching that and probably be really focusing on this book if it does eventually come out. Let me know what you all think down in the comments. That's your latest update here from Rockfeed. Be sure to subscribe and notifications on for the latest news and updates.